27 years have passed since the kids of Derry, Maine defeated Pennywise. The gang of losers is all grown up now and scattered across the country, except for Mike, who's remained in his hometown and now holds the key to defeating the evil clown once and for all. But he needs his old gang of friends to come home to fight it one more time. I've got a simple barometer for telling how good or bad a movie is. I call it the butt test. Simply put, if I become aware of how uncomfortable my theater seat is, I'm just not that into the movie. And at 2 hours and 49 minutes, It Chapter 2 is a real butt number. Now, in fairness, I have to admit that I didn't really care for the novel, and I did not like the Tim Curry 1990 miniseries. I thought Chapter 1 was okay, mostly because of the great chemistry among the kids who carried it. But I had reservations about Chapter 2 because I was afraid it would lose a lot of its charm once that gang of losers had grown up. But I'll give due credit. From a casting standpoint, they did a great job of recapturing that original chemistry among the adult cast and of clever reinforcement with recurring flashbacks featuring the kids. Finn Wolfhard's Richie was by far my favorite character in the first chapter, and Bill Hader really carries Chapter 2 with his portrayal of the grown-up Richie. He's the perfect blend of cutting wit and childlike vulnerability. This movie is brutally violent, and much of it doesn't involve Pennywise. In the first half hour or so, we see scenes of vicious assaults and domestic violence that pull no punches. It's a tough watch, and like its predecessor, It Chapter 2 isn't afraid to kill off children in graphic style. This movie also has kind of a Nightmare on Elm Street vibe to it, especially the later films where Freddy got a little more campy. Pennywise shapeshifts into all sorts of weird things, like Freddy Krueger channeling his inner Beetlejuice in those later flicks. There's a narrow margin between homage and ripoff, and if It Chapter 2 doesn't cross it, it surely dances really close to that line. It's no coincidence to me that the main protagonist, Bill, played by James McAvoy, has grown up to become a writer who's incapable of penning a decent ending. Maybe Stephen King, who not surprisingly has a cameo appearance, is laughing at himself a little here, but the end of this film is decidedly weak. I think that for a pair of movies whose overarching theme is bullying, from homophobia to racism to domestic violence, to come to the conclusion that in order to defeat a villain, you have to become a bigger bully is not only self-contradictory, it's also just bad writing. There are basically two types of people who are going to line up to see It Chapter 2. People who saw and liked the first one and want to see how it all ends, and people who are just kind of horror fans in general. Now, to that first group, I say absolutely go see this movie, you're going to enjoy it. But if you're just a general horror fan, there are better options out there.
This meeting of the Losers Club has officially begun.
We can do this, but we have to stick together.